Alrighty, so let's spend a little bit of time talking about the Services tab within Microsoft Bookings. Again, just as a heads up, this video is going to be a little bit on the longer side because there's a lot of little nuances that go into this, but also a majority of the hacks, if you will, to help this platform meet our needs was done inside the services. So I really want to break that down for you. So here we go. Something to be mindful of within this services, you can have as you see, multiple services. I'm using them for different hour appointments or different times, I guess, right? A half hour, a full hour. This is for our virtual office hours. If I wanted to, in a maybe a more traditional classroom setting, with my role, I might have different appointments: a 30-minute coaching appointment, a 1 hour model teaching appointment, and maybe a full day support appointment. So that way, really what it's going for, people can pick, my customers can pick from a half hour, an hour, or a full day. They have a little bit more autonomy that way. But something to be mindful of when you have multiple service types, it can get a little tricky on the booking side, right? When we look at the booking page, the first thing we have to do here is select a service. And now that I'm telling you that that's there, it's fairly obvious. But if you don't know that that's there at first, the feedback that I've gotten is it's very easy to skip over that part, and I can't select a time like I want to see what's available. Yes, it does say select a service and date. I get all that, but when you only have one service, it immediately jumps to available time slots. When you have multiple services, the first thing your user has to do is click on the type of service, and now the calendar will adjust based on, in this case, a 30-minute window. If I go to an hour, it's going to change a little bit more because now they need an hour. So it's there. It's just something to be mindful of when you have multiple services. They have to select that service first. So that's all. But when you want to add a service, you just click the add a service button up at the top and you go to town. We're going to dig into this one here that I already have to show you how I set it up. So the first thing we can see is service name, right? Pretty straightforward. You put the service name in there. Description, maybe what's going in there if you want some information with your teachers. The default location at the bottom right now, that was one of our first little adjustments that I made. And what I mean by this, one need that was identified by my team, we are currently using Zoom as our video conferencing tool. And what we wanted was to be able to automatically share our personal meeting room link with people when they make a booking. And that's something that some of the online booking platforms can do. Some of them make a meeting. We really wanted to use our personal meeting room. So I set the default location as our PMR link, because when it makes the calendar booking, you'll see later on for the user, it gives them a link to that. Like, it makes the location an active link so they can click on it. It also makes a calendar invite for them in their Outlook calendar, and it sets the PMR link, the personal meeting room link, as the location, and it is a clickable link. So I added it there. That was one little trick that we were able to do. You'll notice right under that, I can do add an online meeting, which is great if you're using Teams, because that's what it's going to make the meeting with. But I selected to keep that off because otherwise you'll have, and if we do it the way we did, you'll have your personal meeting room link for Zoom and a Teams meeting link, and that could be confusing. So again, we just left that checked off for the add an online meeting. So let me scroll down a little bit. We'll see what else we got going on here. Alrighty, so default duration for this particular service, I selected a 30-minute default duration. I could do really whatever I wanted there. The buffer time, this is something that we really liked. You can turn this on and off. It automatically builds in time to your appointment, maybe if you need to travel, or in the case of, right now we're doing virtual office hours. We need a little bit of a break in between appointments just to take care of our own mental health, if you will. So I set this so that there is a 0 buffer before, but a 30-minute buffer after. The reason for doing that, if I set a 30-minute buffer before and after, if it's right now it's 5 o'clock. If someone wanted to book me at 5:30, even if I was available, they would not be able to, because there's that 30-minute buffer. So they wouldn't be able to book me until 6 o'clock in this case. And I didn't want that to happen. So I said 0 minutes before, 30 minutes after, we're good to go. Here, enable customers to manage their appointment when it was booked by you or your staff on their behalf. You can certainly check that if you want. I didn't check it because I'm not doing that. My audience is making their appointment every single time. The maximum numbers of attendees, I said, well, it's one. I'm not sure why it's one, but that's cool. It could really be more if you want, because you're just sharing out your link. Default price, you could certainly set a price if you want, but our service is free right now. It's included with the service fee that everyone pays. Notes, this is like it's saying it's internal. Where it starts to change a little bit is this custom field. These are the questions that your user, your audience, is going to get asked here at the bottom. So what I set it as, if we click modify, these 4 are always up. Customer email, phone number, customer address, and customer notes. Some of those things I don't need in this case. I wanted email. So you can click on them. If they're gray, that means they're going to show up. And if they're not gray, they're not going to show up. They're hidden. And I made it required. Now, I also wanted some other custom fields. In this case, we wanted to know what district are you with and what do you want to use this time for. So the way we add those in is up here with an add a question. I can either add a text question or a drop-down question, depending on what I want to do. And it does say here that the following is the current order of the custom fields. So unfortunately, you can't drag these to reorder them. It's saying here to change the order, you have to clear the selection and reselect them. So it's kind of, but whatever. You build them from top down. I can tell you again, a text question, think of it as open-ended, drop down. We'll use that for when we're back in districts. Within a district, we know that someone is in one of, 4 or 5 buildings. So we'll list the buildings there and say, which building are you in? And let them pick from that. So that's what those are all about. But again, you want to make sure you check that they're gray to have them be seen. And I checked that they're required because I want to know that information. So that's what custom fields are all about. We'll say, okay. This reminder and confirmation, I really like this, both for me and for my audience. You can see I have 2 reminders that go out. One is a day before and one is 30 minutes before. So a day before, it just says, thanks again for the reminder, or thanks again for your appointment. We'll see you tomorrow. And then 30 minutes before, it says, hey, thanks again. And here's that link one more time. So I just was kind of flooding that personal meeting room link there. Again, it's the location in the calendar event, and it's in an email, but it's easy to lose. So just another email 30 minutes before. How do I change that if I want? I can either delete things or I can just click here and change it. When it's going to go out is this column, and who it's going to go to. Is it going to go to the customer, to the staff, or to everybody? So that's what's going on with that one. When I scroll down a little bit more, here is some additional information that's going to be sent to the person that books with you in their email confirmation. So this is where initially I was putting that personal meeting room link in Zoom, but then I kept it here just because why not? But I found that trick for making the location the link, and that works really, really well. And in a later video, I will show you what it looks like to go through as a user booking an appointment. So you'll see that side as well. I don't have text messaging set up, no big deal. Publishing, yes, I want to show this service on my booking page, but maybe if I wasn't going to offer this service, I would unpublish it for a little bit and then publish it again when it was available. And scheduling policy, everything's great. We're all good to go. Here at the bottom, it's kind of silly, but assigning staff, I'm just going to check, right? By default, it says my name, and this is what threw me off. It says your name, but you're not actually assigned to it. We got to check your name. So the little check shows up, and now you are assigned to that service, right? So even if it's just you, I would suggest doing it. So again, I know a little bit longer video here going through the services, but some of those big, scrolling back up, some of those tricks that I pulled off were the default location being your personal meeting room link in Zoom. And then down in the additional information here, putting that link again, just to make sure that our people could get to the personal meeting room link. So excellent. In the next video, a little bit shorter, but we're going to look at business information because that's also where we finalize some of those little tricks that we set it up with. So, all right, without further ado, let's take a look at the business information tab.